Well, hello, Tim Crosby here, and it's the season of Lunasa in the old Irish calendar. So let's do an Irish tune. And let's do an Irish tune, clawhammer style, on the 5-string banjo. So before we dive into the tune, I've got to talk about some of the history of it. So the banjo, if you listen to Irish traditional music at all, you'll hear banjo in it, but you'll realize it's not the 5-string banjo usually. Let's take some history. In the 1880s is the first documented appearance of the American banjo in traditional Irish music. It was a photograph, and then they did an engraving and put it in a publication of two famous Irish musicians. They were brothers. One of them played the Ellen pipes, and the other one played the banjo. And in the picture, it's clear in the picture that he's playing the 5-string banjo and his hand is in the shape of clawhammer banjo playing, which only makes sense because in the 1880s, the only banjo was the 5-string banjo, and the only way that people played it was clawhammer style. Later on, at the turn of the 20th century, the tango banjo was invented, which led to the tenor banjo. And the Irish discovered that the tenor banjo is much more fluent to play Irish music. So they all played tenor banjo until about the 1970s. And there was a guy named Henry Sapoznik, and he was a clawhammer banjo player. He got interested in Irish music, and he tabbed out and did the arrangements of some traditional Irish fiddle tunes on clawhammer banjo. You might still be able to find it. There was an album called Melodic Clawhammer Banjo. Henry Sapoznik and 2 or 3 other clawhammer banjo players were on that album. And there's a book of tablature, also called Melodic Clawhammer Banjo. That's the tab for the tunes that appeared in that album. So that's going to give you, if that sparks your interest, there's lots more details of all of that history of the banjo in Irish music. So we're going to workshop a tune today called the Merry Blacksmith. Oh, that's also got some of that cultural crossover, because the other common name for the tune Merry Blacksmith is called Paddy on the Railroad, which has led to the theory that Paddy on the Railroad, or the Merry Blacksmith, or the Flags of Dublin, if you will, may have been composed in America. So we have an Irish-American fiddle tune played on the clawhammer banjo. Here it is. I'm going to play through it for you, and if you get my tablature, download it and take a look at it and follow along, you'll discover that I'm not playing it exactly the way I wrote it out in the tablature, and we're going to talk about some of those pieces and bits in the tablature. But here's the tune, the Merry Blacksmith. So let's find those bits that are different from the tablature, and I'll tell you why they're different. So right at the front, that's going to be the same. So there's this run. How do you do that and keep your hand moving in the clawhammer style? So there's several ways. If you want to be accurate to the way the fiddle player is likely to play it, the notes are, so you can play it with the notes on the bottom of the tablature that I wrote out. You can play it with an upstroke like the Pete Seeger style. There's that upstroke. Down, hammer on, down, up. Or another way to do it is when you get to that hammer on, and that appears in the tablature too, you can hammer on both the first and the second string, like that. Or the way I play it, the way it's evolved in my hand, I don't even try to get that open first string note. I'm going to drop thumb a third string. And if you're playing along with a fiddle player, it'll just harmonize. And that particular run shows up 2 or 3 places in the tune. So now you know that you have your choice of playing it with with that upstroke, Pete Seeger upstroke, with a 2-string hammer on, or with just a drop thumb and not even the same note. And then in the B part, you've got this. Well, you probably saw me play it. That 5th string on the first, or that 5th fret on the 1st string is the same note as your 5th string. And because I also play it on the tenor banjo, my hand is just used to playing that A note. So you've got your choice of hammering on to the 5th fret 1st string, or using your thumb. So they're the bits and pieces that are different from my tablature, which you could download from the website. And I'll leave you with one final note about the tablature that I wrote out. The 5-string banjo, capoed at the 2nd fret, in double C tuning. If you're interested in crossing over to the tenor banjo, you'll discover that the low D, that 4th string, and the 3rd string, which is an A, and the 1st string, which is an E, are exactly the same notes as the 3rd string, the 2nd string, and the 1st string on an Irish strum tuned tenor banjo. So you can play that same tablature with a little bit of modification with a flat pick and sound like an Irish tenor banjo player. So American, Irish, banjo, 5-string, banjo, tenor, it's Lunasa, and I'm glad you were here.